But I think what's really driving the market is the Fed. You had Powell on 60 Minutes last night, basically committing to print an unlimited quantity of money and urging Congress to borrow and spend as much money as they want, and that the Fed is standing ready to monetize an infinite amount of government spending. So I think people think that that's good for the market, but it's not. It's a disaster for the economy. It will destroy the value of the dollar. And sure, that means that stocks will go up, but so what? If you're pricing them in worthless currency, in fact, there is a limit to how much money the Fed can print, and that is when it collapses in value. What's the point of printing money that doesn't buy anything? And I think we're going to find out pretty soon. Well, look, the stock market should be going down. I think they will be going down. I think the only reason the stock market may go up is because the stock market may go down less than the dollar. And so if the dollar is sinking at a faster rate than the stock market, then the dollar price of stocks could go up. But in terms of gold, in terms of real money, the stock market is going to plunge. I think we're going to see a complete collapse of the value of U.S. stocks priced in gold. I think gold is a safe haven, and I think so is silver at this point. I think there's an incredible bargain in silver. We may have seen the lows now. Silver got down to a record low. I mean, ever since they've been keeping records, which goes back a long time when it comes to gold and silver. You're talking hundreds, if not thousands of years. Silver was the cheapest it's ever been in terms of gold. And so we may have seen the lows and rallied off the bottom, but I think there's still a lot of legs in the silver rally. But gold's going a lot higher too. For those people who are willing to take a chance, gold stocks, I think, represent the best risk reward out there as far as, trying to make 10, 20 times your money, maybe more. I think the way you can do that is in the mining stocks. And so, we've been putting a lot of client money into gold mining stocks, both in the accounts that we manage and in our mutual fund, the Euro Pacific Gold Fund. So I really think that that's where the speculative money should be at this point, in these mining stocks and junior mining stocks in particular, where you have the most upside if you know what you're doing, which I think we do when it comes to picking them. But for more conservative investors, in addition to having an allocation to physical gold and silver, you should invest in countries that have much sounder economies, that aren't destroying their currency to the degree that we are. So you'll be able to get more reliable income streams. And a lot of these dividend-paying stocks in some of the good markets around the world have come down due to the COVID-related crisis that has impacted the entire world. So there actually are some good bargains around the world on dividend-paying stocks. There's no bargains here in the U.S. I think stocks are still overpriced. In fact, probably more overpriced now than they were before this COVID crisis began. But that's not the case with many of the markets that we're investing in Singapore and Hong Kong, in New Zealand, even again, Switzerland, in Norway, Sweden, as you mentioned. There's some good buys there. Australia too. There's stocks that we're getting involved in that I think will be good inflation hedges that will provide our clients with meaningful income streams that will actually go a long way in the States. Because I think most people are going to get wiped out with the inflation tax. I mean, all of this government is not free, right? This incredible increase in the size of government is going to cost somebody. Somebody has to pay the bills for all the bailouts and all the stimulus. And if we're not raising taxes, then how are we doing it? We're financing it through inflation. And that doesn't mean we get it for free. It just means that anybody who is foolish enough to hold U.S. dollars, either in savings or in the form of bonds or other fixed income investments, or even any income-oriented investments where the income is U.S. dollars, you are going to suffer. And if you have a job and you're getting paid dollars, you're going to suffer. So what you got to do to mitigate the damage, right, your share of that inflation tax, is before the dollar collapses, get rid of your dollars and use them to accumulate real money, gold and silver, or to buy quality income-producing assets in other countries so that you don't end up paying that inflation tax, but other people are going to pay it, and they're going to pay it through the nose. Well, I mean, basically what's happening is that all currencies are losing value, right? And you can see that in terms of gold. It's just that right now, the dollar has lost less value than other currencies. And that's why those currencies are already at record lows in terms of gold, but the dollar is not. But the dollar is not far away from a record low. I mean, maybe another 10, 15% decline, and we'll be there. But I think once the dollar starts to fall faster than other fiat currencies, which is ultimately going to happen. In fact, I think the dollar is going to win the race to the bottom, which is a race that you don't want to win. But I think once we take the lead in that race, that's when you're really going to start to see the gold price moving, because gold does a lot better when the dollar is the weakest of the currencies. So if gold is this strong when the dollar is less weak than its rivals, imagine how much stronger it's going to be when it's the weakest one. And ultimately, I think what's going to happen is the dollar is going to lose its status as the reserve currency, and the world is going to return to gold being the primary monetary reserve. And the currency that has the most to lose from that switch is the US dollar. And all American citizens who have built an entire lifestyle and standard of living on the dollar being the reserve currency, so that we can just create them out of thin air and we can use them to buy all sorts of things that we don't produce, and that we can continue to borrow money that we didn't save and push off the costs on the rest of the world. And that is what we're doing now. And we think we can do that with impunity, but we can't. And what's going to take away that punch bowl is going to be a currency crisis, which will also mean a bond crisis. But when that happens, right, it's the dollar that really gets killed. And so it's Americans more than people anywhere else that need to be buying gold. I mean, everybody should be buying it, but especially people who have US dollars and who live in the United States.